Good afternoon to all of our viewers on Facebook and on YouTube. This is the launch of Behind the Curtain, authored by none other than Mr. Chris Richardson. Mr. Chris Richardson has been a staple in the Anguillan tourism industry for over 30 years. As he often says, he's very gregarious, outgoing, extroverted, and we are so excited to launch this book and share this book with you today. So without further ado, let me introduce you to a man who needs absolutely no introduction, my dad, Mr. Chris Richardson.
Oh, thank you very much, Dillian. I am so excited and happy to have with me guests and those who are close with me. I have Len, who is one of the first guests who I've met over the years. We've been friends for 20 odd years, almost the length of time I'm in the industry. Also his wife, Aileen, very good to, they have visited Anguilla for like 30 years, for the past 30 years. And so I'm happy, I'm one of the first who would have read the book, and so happy that they have, we're gonna share a bit. And of course, you, my daughter, and then Colette, who was the executive housekeeper of Cuisinart. We work very closely together. My wife, Sandra, as well. We celebrated 40 years yesterday of marriage. And I think, Aileen, you celebrated 50 years. So congratulations. And then I have Merla, who I work very closely with. I look at her, and I'm so pleased with the progress you have made over the years. We were very, very close. Brilliant person in the industry. And I know that she would go very, very far from the first time we would have met. That was in 2004. And then I have her sister, Marcia, and she is also a staple in the industry as well. So here we are. And so we are talking about the book Behind the Curtain. And, you know, let me go to Aileen, because you would have been one of the first who would have.
I was one of the first people to see the book. Chris posted on Facebook that he was writing a book, and I've read all of his other books, and I was very excited to see a new book out, and I ran to my Kindle and I read it, and I loved it. I loved the stories that he told and the life behind Anguilla and the hospitality industry, and little secrets that I knew and little secrets that I didn't know. So thank you for sharing your artistic ability, which is great, and we love hearing from you.
Thank you.
Len?
And then Len.
Hello. So we met Chris about 22 or 23 years ago when he came to Cuisinart right after it first opened. And we find Chris to be so much fun and so bright and so intelligent. And he's like a Renaissance man, actually. So he's also very nice, by the way. He's the epitome of Anguilla nice. So it's one of the things we love about Anguilla, and Chris epitomizes that. So when he wrote this book, we were excited because we love everything at Anguilla, and it gives you really a look into the hospitality industry here and a lot of his experiences. Everything from a couple who was his guests who were cheating on each other's spouse, to the reviewer from leading hotels who came in posing as a drunk, who Chris passed the test and he got it. So it's really fun to learn about all the experiences that happened to him in the hospitality industry in Anguilla, and we really enjoyed it. Good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think that having me here, I have those who would have worked with me, and I'm going to put Merle on the spot first to talk about our experience, because you know the book speaks to a lot of what she is aware of. Also, Coletta, about this book. So Merle, if you just speak about some of the experiences, leading hotel, what we went through, and some of the issues we have before I talk about some of the in-depth stuff in this book.
Where do I start? The good, the bad, and the ugly. First, let me say, you did an amazing job, Chris.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I must appreciate that you were not only my executive leader, but you were my teacher. And at times my mentor.
Thank you.
And in the industry, you have training, but you don't really have teachings. And I was lucky, and his entire team was lucky, to have someone who was more of a teacher rather than a leader in that sense. And there's a little, you would say, well, in order to lead, you have to teach. But he was more of a professor. And he made sure that we learned from the bottom up and not what the book said or what the establishment said the standard was. He equipped us that wherever we go in life, and his teachings still go with me every day, you lead by example. You inspect what you expect. Mm-hmm. Don't leave it up to, not that you don't trust your team, but you have to touch it to experience it. And those little words stuck with me because those are the examples we did, what I would call our classroom. And I remember our first leading inspection. And I was recently promoted to front desk supervisor. And this one wasn't a drunk, but he came in and he had everything that we knew, that we should have known that he was an inspector. And we dropped the ball. And I felt so defeated because we got 100% on wake-up calls, but everything else was below average, meet average. And we were so down. And Chris said, well, the good news is they will come in a couple of months and re-inspect us. And he came up with a system. He had a whole trophy.
Oh, yeah.
And I can remember in that inspection, housekeeping passed. No, the laundry passed, but housekeeping failed along with us. And he said, we're going to do some classroom settings. And we're going to be a buddy system. And we learned what to look for an inspector, just a little cheat to get us by. And when the inspection came, and we said, that's him, that's him. And we were calling everyone on the phone. We were like, Chris, he just went to the restaurant. He's leaving the restaurant. So we were so prepared because he would have taught us everything that we needed to do to be prepared. And his entire division got 100%. And we went to the back in his tiny little office. And we huddled. And we cried and we cried. And everyone's like, but you passed. Food and beverage failed. We were like, no, you don't understand. It took a lot for us to win. And I always go back to that inspection. And what we learned from that, we don't ever have to be prepared if we are always prepared.
Yes.
And we would look at every reservation. We would do pre-shift meetings. We came up with our own little team. And everybody would say, well, we need Chris to teach our departments because his department kept on winning anything they threw at us because we were so prepared. And that's what I appreciated about you, Chris. Your teaching.
Thank you.
Because in the industry and being a leader myself, no. If you don't teach in the continuous teachings
Yes.
and come up with methods to keep the teams energized, we become complacent. And it's just a job. But the industry is a passion.
That's right. It's
A passion that I've loved from mimicking my cousin when she used to work at Casablanca and it would be raining and I would call and she would say, it's a sunny day on Anguilla at Casablanca. Like, it's raining outside, move. And she was like, well, that's what we're supposed to say. And then starting in the industry as a telephone operator and learning that putting a mirror on the phone and looking to the phone and smiling while you speak makes such a difference to the person on the receiving end. And those are the behind the scenes, and that's the behind the curtain that the guests don't see. All those little things, because we're parents, we're moms, we are wives, we are sisters, and we in Anguilla we take care of our parents. And when we walk at our desks, the curtains go up and the show begins.
That's right.
And it's always
That's not us.
it's always live. It's always in real time. There's nothing that you can say that you can take back or you can correct. And I appreciate everything that you've done.
Thank you.
I appreciate your teachings, and I'm looking forward to reading Behind the Curtain.
Behind the curtain. I have with me Colette, who was also my, actually Merla was my front office manager, and Colette was my executive housekeeper. Colette, let's share about some of the things that you know, we had issues with gas, and you know, the concerns that I had, how we de-escalate the issues. Sometimes I know it was tough on your team. Go ahead.
Chris.
No, Colette, you're picking on me.
Everything on me.
My time with Chris was valuable and an experience that I could never forget. Yes, we did win the Leading Hotels, and we have this lovely glass plaque.
Yes.
Yes, and all of our names was put on it, and you know, as Merla was saying, from then on, the other departments got so jealous that Chris had to start teaching, and then we started to get jealous because our time was being taken up by the other people, and we was getting like, we want to meet in the private dining room, and yes, and we would sit down with our pen and paper, notepads, and we would write everything. Chris would write sentences, then he would let us read them, and then we'd write them, and then we speak them out in the way they're supposed to sound, etc. All the verbs and the nouns. I mean, Chris is a real teacher. He is a real teacher. And in the hospitality, I started in the hospitality in 1987, way back in college in Birmingham City in England, and came out to the Caribbean in 1988. And then I worked at Coca-Loba, which is now this property.
This property, yes.
Right. And then from there went on to Cuisinart in
Yes.
2003, November 2003. And Chris, you came in when?
2004.
4?
Yes.
Okay. And that was the changing of my entire life. Oh, we used to fight like cat and dogs. I'm telling you the truth. But we used to fight like cat and dogs. But at the end of the day, me and Chris would make up and ensure that we left on good terms.
Why did you fight?
Because of the situations that Chris demanded from the housekeeping department, that, you know, as well as say, you have to check everything, and that I would have to go and check. So I was a manager that could not sit in the office. As an exec, you cannot sit in the office on in an executive housekeeper's position. You have to be on the field with the team, because you just don't know the skills that you have out there, and you don't know what they're doing. There, your eyes are opened. You find every hiding spot, every little crook and cranny where they put things and where they should not be, breaking the rules of the electrical panels and putting their mops and buckets in places where they should not. And Chris was like a sergeant major, and then he would be coming down on my head all the time, collecting what's going on here. You know, we used to have a lot of fun. It was hard work, day and night. And I mean, I always remember going into work for 8 o'clock on time, but never leaving there till 10:30 with the night shift with Greg and with Anna. And I would be there still all night with the team, going over the night housekeeping session, as well as picking up for the day the schedules and the things that I couldn't get done because I have to be on the field with the team. So I was an all hands-on person, and that is where your skill gets sharper as well, and you can do your teams evaluations very skillfully because you know them. But when you're a person who sits in the office, no. And Chris is responsible for that, you know, ensuring that I was out on the field, and ensuring that went from the laundry into the rooms, into public areas, and the night team. Colette was always there. My family didn't, thank God for my husband, because it was him who looked after the children, and it was me on the job with with everybody else, you know, and it was a tough time. But when we broke through that time, that was such a lift, and people over the years that have come, that probably obviously changed management, etc. But it was the foundation that Chris built into us, and that kept us going, and we maintained our standards. And others would come, other management teams would come and say, well, how did you all do it? It was Chris. It was through Chris. And the teaching that we went through and the dedication. You have to be loyal, you have to be dedicated, and you have to have a passion, as Merle was saying, for hospitality. If you don't have that drive, you wouldn't be. I mean, when I check out the days of the week that I worked, you work over the days that you're supposed to work, the hours you're supposed to work. 52 weeks in a year I used to be working, clocking up in Cuisinart because of the intensity of the guest demands, and you want to make sure everything was perfect for them. And then you have, I used to always say, two types of guests, the external and the internal guests. So we have to look after each other, team, and also the guests. And it was a life-changing experience, and it's been with me ever since. There's been lots of stories, yes. There's lots of stories. When Chris was like a detective at one point, anyway, I can't go into that one. And then he had to disappear and take some secret plane flies somewhere. And then
it's in the book. It's in the book. It's in the book.
Oh, goodness.
It's in the book.
Well, I would never forget that, you know, and then, oh my goodness. But behind the scenes, the interrogation and the investigation that used to go on.
Yes.
Chrissy was a hammer. And we had to go deep and open up a lot of things that staff had to confess, yes. This did go on, and it was it was a serious time, but we had fun.
Yes.
All in all, in the end, I can say it worked for us, and it has kept Cuisinart, Aurora, on that foundation is what keeps the legacy has been built all these years, and that is amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, you know, I know that, yes, it's in the book about the flying in, and that was my most painful part of my job, very most painful, and I wrote about it. But there are also some good points. There are some highs and lows in this industry, and like Merla and you said, you must have passion to be in this business. My mom, as persons would know, my mom actually wanted me to be a professor. My mom never wanted me to go in the industry. My mom was an educator, Merla, you know, and you also know my mom was an educator. That's the family lineage through which I came. And so when I went into the industry, my mom was opposed to it. I did my bachelor's. She was like, why did you do that? Why didn't you do something else? And then when I went to do my postgrad studies, she said, okay, now you're going to be a professor. I went straight back into the industry. And that killed her dead, right? She did not want it. But I love the people. I love what I did. I love to make sure people are happy and our guests having a great time. And so there were some things that we had to do behind the scenes to make sure things happen. And there were issues that we had to deal with that guests could not see. How did we make these things happen? But you know, the creation of this book, there are quite a few people who would have worked along with me as well. But Sandra, I think my wife, who would have had the toughest part. And Sandra, maybe you could speak a bit. Don't beat me up. I know that it's done. But you could speak about it. Yes, that's right. Whenever if Sandra missed me, she would call Merla and ask me who I was. Right? Thank you, Sandra.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And it gives me a level of excitement that I think I'm more excited than anybody else that this book is being launched today. And maybe it's for a reason that you wouldn't understand, because when Chris has to go through the process of writing a book, now he's had 3 books. This is the 3rd book that's being launched. But when he has to go through the process of being an author, I would almost call him a bipolar person, because he has an entirely different personality when he's writing to when he's the normal Chris. And the normal Chris is the Chris that I am accustomed to. But the author Chris is the one that I absolutely, categorically do not know. When he is in writer's mode, he just disappears. He goes to his library. You cannot be in contact with him. You cannot reach him. It's frustrating. And the good thing is, the end result is what makes it worth it. And I don't see the book until it comes to the end result. I often help him to proofread the book. I help him to name some of the chapters. You know, sometimes when I'm not in the mood to read, Chris actually reads some of the chapters to me. And he says, do you think there's anything I need to change? You know, so we go through that entire process. But I don't see it until the entire book actually comes together. And today I'm excited because I've read every chapter of this book. And I mean, some of the things that he writes about, it's almost like a mystery novel. It's like, what's next, you know? And he puts you in that frame. He has been dubbed the ultimate storyteller. So before he was even an author, he would tell stories that would just crack you up. You know, as a family, we would have our family time, and we would be in the bedroom, all of the kids, and we would have our storytelling time. And we have the ultimate storyteller who tells such a good story. And when he's finished with that story, I am telling you, you are bound to crack up, because Chris puts life into the story. He actually makes you feel like you are in it. You are right there. And I deem him a very powerful author, because like I said, I've read every book that he's written. And I want to congratulate you, Chris, on this masterpiece. I know it would do well. I know I am one of your key salespeople because I push, and I know I would have no issue whatsoever selling this book.
Thank you very much. Now, in case you want to know where this book can be had, it's on Amazon actually. There are some other sites that we're going to put up where it's on, where you could get the book. We also have here at Best Buy, Capjuluka as well carrying it. Capjuluka, the boutique also carries this book. We also have Paramount Pharmacy carries the book. We also have Straw Hat as well. Straw Hat as well carries this book, and it's $25 for the book, and you would enjoy the read. You know, you have anything like the con artist. You know, we have some guests that come that real con artist. How do we deal with them? We also have in this book Tracking the Thief. Actually, you know, there are times when we had issues that we had to deal with, and I did not just look at the guest perspective, but as staff as well. You know, like we say, internal guests. Some of the issues we have with the internal guests, how we dealt with it. Lawyers had to be involved, etc. And we had to deal with these matters. We also, the confession. You see, a guy ran away, and we had to deal with this matter. And he ran away with his secretary. And like you said, Lynn ran away with his secretary and said it was his wife. And when the wife called, you know, how we dealt with that, the whole issue saga that happened. These were some issues that we had. And also, we also spoke about the inspectors, some of the concerns. Some of them came in different forms. Some came like they were gay. And how we dealt with it. At the end of it, what happened? Some came as drunks. Some came like they were Jamaican. Remember the Jamaican? He was actually British, spoke speaking Jamaican, and was gone. You know how we dealt with that situation. We talk about leaving the lover behind, where the guy, there was an accident that happened, came. This was somebody else. When you look, the person had to fly out. How did we deal with that? We had a death. Someone we had.
Chris, who said she came to die.
Yes.
We had to get immigration.
That's right. Yeah, to get her out. Oh yeah. So there were concerns. You know, all these concerns in this book. How we deal with behind the scene. You know, guests did not see this, but we had to deal with that. We had where the guest stole. We had a guest who stole the golf car, mashed them up, and then, you know, we had to deal with that matter. So there were some concerns here that I bring to the fore. There are 14 chapters. I also spoke about Malihana as the first luxury property, and Leon Royden, who is the founder, he'll always be the founder of luxury on this island in 1980, early 80s, when he brought the property to life, and some of the concerns that we also had there. He was quite benevolent as well, and so we spoke to that. Now, in the book, there's some, of course, false name. We had to hide identities, so I cannot be sued. I know I have my little lawyer here, but who's my daughter, but I don't think we'll go down that road, because, you know, some names have been changed. The only name you'll see in here is me, so, and I don't think I could sue myself. So that is the book. But Behind the Curtain is a book that is dear to my heart. This is part 1. There's a part 2 to come as well. And I want to thank all of you who are here today. I want to thank Sandra. She did take the picture. And my book have some thank yous to many, who include Merla and Colette, Charles Du Bois. And I want to thank Len and Aileen, who are here. And they have been a part of my life, my career, for more than 2/3 of it. And so they were also encouragers. And so I'm here at their villa, and they opened it to me to launch the book, and they're here for the launch of the book. And Aileen has been the first reader, one who commented. She went on Amazon, pulled it up, read it, sent back her comments to me, and she began propagating it as well, even before we had launched it.
It is our honor, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So I want to encourage you to go and get the book, and you can see Sandra, or you can call 235-6000, 235-6000. 235-6401. That's Sandra's number. My number is 235-6000, or Paramount Pharmacy. You can get it at Paramount Pharmacy. It's going to be there from tomorrow. It's going to be there, and also from the other outlets, include Captain Luke already have them. Best Buy would have them, and like I said, please get your copy today, and let's have fun looking at what happened behind the scene in the hospitality industry. And I want to thank you very much, everybody.